So today we're talking social strategies, Google and Paperclips. Hi there, I'm Dee Woodward and welcome to another episode of the Expert Interview Series, and today I'm joined by the very lovely Laura. Now, I've known Laura for a few years and this lady seriously knows her stuff when it comes to pay-per-click, and she also knows how to stay up ridiculously late and get up early at events, but that is a completely different story.
Yeah, you were there too.
If you're running ads or if you're thinking about running ads for your business, then you really want to check out what Laura's up to over at Your Business Angels. So hi Laura, thank you so much for joining me. And just quickly, for those who don't already know you, can you just share a little bit about the who, what and why you do what you do?
Yes, of course, because I don't just stay up late at night and party hard. I do work really hard too. Yeah, so pay-per-click. So it's quite funny actually that I was talking to somebody about it and they thought it was actually called Paperclip.
Paperclip, brilliant.
Yeah, unique one. Okay. So yeah, Google AdWords, it's really quite an exciting field. So my background is I had a company with my brother, which is home computer support. And one of the key things that we did there, I was focusing on the marketing and sort of growing the business, is around attracting new customers. And being involved in the entrepreneur circle, it was something that was introduced to me as Google AdWords, and I was sat there scratching my head thinking, what on earth is this thing? So went on one of the courses and learnt a little bit about it. And so we implemented it pretty much on the back of a fag packet for the business, let's be honest. And it worked really, really well. And I thought, oh, this is really exciting and quite, you can get quite addicted to it because it's very much around numbers and kind of statistics and things like that. So
well, you can get quite addicted to it. Me, on the other hand, numbers, don't like doing anything number based.
No, it does get quite addictive, and I can tell you a little bit more as to why. But one of the things is we were getting in somewhere between sort of 5 to 10 new customers a day, and it was really, really growing the business. And then business owners were saying to me, look, you know, can you help with my AdWords? And I thought, hold on, there's some opportunity here, because many businesses want to grow their business and want to find ways of attracting new customers on tap, and Google AdWords is certainly one of the ways to be able to do that. So short of like referrals, it's one of the strongest ways that you can get new customers, because they're coming to you sort of qualified. And I can explain a bit more about AdWords briefly without boring everybody as to how it works and what it's all about. So yeah, that's sort of the background for me, was that we worked this for our business, and then because we did such a great job, I think in the nature of it being very successful, people were saying, look, can you help me out? And that made me think there's a bit of a market opportunity here for businesses that don't know how to use Google AdWords but have a great business and great service but don't know how to attract new customers directly into their business. So that was sort of coming up to a year ago now. And we've been working with numerous businesses, from massive corporate companies to we've got companies in Australia and people in the UK as well. We've just got a whole different raft of clients. So yeah, it's brilliant. I absolutely love it, and it's great that we can make such a difference to the growth of businesses, really, and make a difference.
Definitely. I found one of the things I found during this series kind of about speaking to experts is most people have fallen into what they are now doing as an expert because they were practicing it, or it was something that they just became passionate about, and then they kind of fell into it becoming this business opportunity based on something that they just thoroughly enjoyed and loved doing. So it was really interesting that you kind of went down that route as well, started using the pay-per-click Google ads, and then found that actually you just enjoyed it so much and you could really add so much value to other people that you've taken it on to really push that side of the business forward.
Yeah, and I think you've almost got the war scars and, you know, you've got all the good bits and the bad bits about it, so that you can then work on that for other clients. And I guess the key thing is that because I've done it for my own business, I am very passionate about it. Whereas sometimes when you work with an agency, they've just been working for their clients' businesses, whereas I know what it takes to get it to work.
Yeah, from an actual business owner's perspective, as well as helping as an expert to do it for you. Yes.
Yeah,
So I personally, like Google AdWords, I must admit, something that I've always wanted to kind of look and pursue doing. And we've had conversations about this before, but I've never really felt it was the right time for me to do it. And part of that comes from, I suppose, a bit of a fear of not really understanding or knowing where to get started to make sure that when you start doing Google Ads, you're actually doing it in a really profitable way. You hear kind of horror stories of people spending so much money and losing a lot of money using Google AdWords, as well as the really great stories of people, you know, really elevating their business from it. So from that kind of place of having a fear, I suppose, of getting started, what would be the best place that you would recommend for business owners, small business owners, people like myself, to be able to get started using Google AdWords?
Well, I would say that one of the easiest ways to get started is to set up a remarketing campaign. It might be just jargon, but remarketing is essentially where you have a Google AdWords account. You may have done something similar for Facebook, creating target audience and custom audiences. So it's essentially a cookie that goes on your site. So then anyone that comes to your website, regardless of where it is, they would then be followed around with a banner ad with a very clear call to action of some way of attracting them back, because they've been to your website for one reason or another, whether it be from Facebook, from SEO, from somebody saying check out this company. So then it just gives you an opportunity to have a second bite at the cherry.
Okay.
You had it before, where you might have gone to a hotel website or you've gone to Amazon to go and buy a book, and then you're then presented ads as you go around the internet of that particular book because you didn't actually go and purchase it.
Yeah, I remember a freakish one that happened once, which really scared my husband more than me, was when we were getting car insurance quotes, I think, at some point. And then afterwards, that banner followed us around with the quote details on, which was a bit kind of scary if you don't understand, because you think, hang on a minute, why is there's an ad everywhere? We've all got that done on all these websites. But, I did have to explain to him, yes, I know how this works. He didn't quite understand how it works. But it's very clever that you can actually do that, because it's such a personal way of really grabbing people's attentions, especially if you can tailor them that specifically. I mean, I'm not sure technically wise how they did all of that and whether it's something that you would want to get into straight away to get started. But the idea of, say, remarketing to people when they've looked on your site but they haven't perhaps signed up for an opt-in, and you can just put a banner out there that says kind of, hey, you visited my site but you didn't sign up for this.
Exactly. I mean, with all these things, there's an entry level way of doing it, and then you've got the more advanced. And I would say the way that you've explained that is the more advanced aspect, but it is Big Brother style, the stuff that you can do, and it is so powerful and a real smart way to market to people to attract them back. But the reason I give this as an example is because the cost per click, so your return is very, very high, and the cost per click is very, very low.
Okay.
Marketing. So, and also it's just really good for brand awareness. Typically when somebody goes to one of my, the site, then they'll be in contact to say, what are you doing? Why do you keep stalking me all the time? It can be a little bit annoying, but hey, I just want to kind of keep reaching out to people that have been to the website.
Yeah. So on this kind of this starter level of having a retargeting ad that goes out just when people have visited your site, then they're going to, what kind of ad would you recommend people put out there for that very starter level? Is it just a kind of like, hi, here's my brand name, or is it a bit more of something that incites a direct response?
I would say direct response. It's not necessarily a direct response for a sale, so maybe not, call us today for a free quote or something like that. It's more a case of, if you've got a lead bait on your website, whether it's some sort of guide or video series or some way of attracting people back, I would promote that with a really good image, not stock shots or anything like that, but some kind of image that would then attract people back into your circle of friends, so to speak.
Yeah, you don't have to preach to me too much about stock photos. I'm all for having your own.
Not great.
Images.
No, I mean, the face of business, it could be, it could be their brand, something that resonates with the person that's been on their website already and just feels familiar. But it does need to be something that will stop them in their tracks, and not something that's really boring and dull. It needs to have some kind of attracting image, and also a clear call to action on what to do next.
I think
which is to click here to get your free guide or something like that.
I think so. It's probably a picture of yourself really works quite well, because most of the people that are going to be watching this, all of my guys here, are very much more in the expert space, so they are promoting themselves as their business. So really, just a picture of yourself on the ad would probably work very well with a good clear call to action.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's got to be similar to what's on your website, because otherwise, if it doesn't resonate with the branding that you've got on your website, then it just won't feel familiar, and they'll see the ad and think, oh, what was that? I don't, that doesn't feel familiar. So it's got to have similar branding, and but definitely a friendly face usually helps.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a place that I would start. The other thing is that's around remarketing. The reason, like I say, is because the cost per click is low, and it's something you can set up very rapidly. If you haven't got an account, you will need to set up a Google AdWords account, which is pretty simple. There's various videos that you can get online to be able to do it, and I can share some information if that's useful. But it's a pretty simple setup. And then once you've got that set up, you need to have the remarketing code that you place across every page on your site.
Okay.
And it's much like Facebook ads. It's just a very simple piece of code. You copy it across all of the pages.
Yeah. So really, that's it. Even if you're thinking about at some point doing kind of the ads, it's worth getting you set up with that and getting that on your website, so that when you want to do ads, you're there ready to go with that.
Yes, that's right. Because what happens is it needs to clock a number of visits to the website. So you've got to have at least 100 visits to the website anyway. So before it will kick in. So that's why I sort of get that underway anyway.
Yes, it definitely.
And then you want to go into more search. So there's remarketing, which is the banner ads that come up as people looks at your website. The other sort of made around Google AdWords, the search campaign. So this is when somebody types into the search box, Nike shoes, for example, and they will then have the ads across the top. So the very top 3 ads, and all the ones along the right hand side, those are the paid for ads that people click on, and that's the only point at which you pay, is when you click on it. And anything underneath that is the natural rankings.
Okay.
So that's a search campaign. When you bid on those particular keywords and you say, okay, I'm prepared to pay a certain amount to have your ads shown there. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that, of course.
Yes.
It's science. It's not just about the price at which you want to pay to bid. It's also about what they call a quality score. And the quality score is all about relevancy. Okay. So you've got to think that when you're bidding on Nike shoes, for example, your ad, the text ad that appears that you put in your AdWords account, that wording needs to relate directly to Nike shoes.
Okay. And
then taking it one stage further, those words need to be on the page that you take people to when they click through. So it's kind of 3 stages. Firstly, you've got to select the keywords. Then you've got to have ads that have the right kind of ad copy in there that relate to what somebody's typed in. And then the landing page needs to feel familiar as well. Because then Google thinks, okay, you're serving what they're looking for. Because essentially you're a customer for Google and they want to give you what you're looking for. And if you're not, they penalise the advertiser.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to the search terms, where would you recommend kind of looking to find that information out? Because if the series has got to go through, your advert's got to be based on the search terms, and then your site, the page that you're sending people to, has also got to follow through. Now, you could come up with a really great creative ad campaign, and you could write what you think would be really compelling for your customers. But actually, when you go to use Google, it could be that people aren't actually searching for those terms, and there's a different road through. So really, do you need to start before you actually create an advertising campaign that you want to use on Google? Do you need to start with the search terms first so that you can plan your campaign based on those keywords?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a step-by-step process. I see that there's 5 key stages, and the first stage is absolutely looking at the keywords. Now, I certainly wouldn't embark on the actual ad copy or anything like that until you've focused on, are the people actually searching for this? It can be an ego thing. You can think, yeah, everyone's looking into this, but actually you need to use some of the tools to find out if people are looking for it. I mean, I'd suggest that with looking and thinking about the keywords, think about your customer. Don't think about yourself as a business owner. Think about your ideal customer. They're sat in front of their computer thinking, right, I need a wooden table, so I'm going to search for a wooden table. Now, there's different types of keywords that people are going to search for depending on their funnel. So it could be that they're researching, in which case I wouldn't recommend you go for those kind of keywords. That might be how much is a wooden table, or reviews of wooden table. Now, that's going to be somebody that's not necessarily in the purchasing part of their sort of buying decision. So you want to be going for things like where to buy a wooden table, those kind of keywords. So whilst it sounds a little bit pedantic, it makes a massive difference to the return on your investment, because you're paying for every time that somebody clicks on your ad. So you want to make sure that you really hone down into the keywords. So I almost, when I'm working with clients, I say, get a cup of coffee and just sit there and think, right, I am my ideal customer. I have this problem. I'm looking for this wooden table. What would I type into Google? And a very different thought process from a business owner thinking, I've got the most beautiful wooden tables and people are going to be searching for the brand name or whatever, where actually there might not be.
No.
So firstly, think about that.
Is it worth maybe selecting a couple of your best customers and asking them what they would perhaps search for if they were looking?
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, yes, you could certainly do that. I guess the thing is they don't really know what they did to get to that process. But yeah, what you could do is you could say to your ideal customer, okay, you don't know who I am, you have no friends to call in the world, you know, you can't ring a friend, you have no one to speak to, you go to Google and you need to fix this problem. Give me a couple of things that you would type in to find X and whatever the service is. Because it's from the hip. It's, you know, you can do all of this keyword research, but actually just think about being your ideal customer, sat there in front of the computer going plonk, 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 what do I type in? You know, it can get more scientific, but that's the base level.
And I suppose with anything, it comes down to testing it as well. Once you think that when you've gone through that process and you think you're at the stage and you're ready, then do you run some kind of test campaigns as well, just to kind of trial it and see if what you're thinking actually works, or do you kind of just go for it and put it out there and hope the best?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily test it. Like with Facebook ads, you can do a quick test and within 24 hours, 48 hours, you have a good idea. However, with Google, it is a more long process, because you have to gain kind of Google's trust. You have to build that quality score. It's got to look at the keywords against the ads, and it's got to look at the landing pages as well. So don't expect an immediate return. If you do, that is a bonus, but don't expect that it's going to happen overnight. You've got to be patient with it. You've got to work with it. It's your baby. You've got to kind of massage it and look after it and you know, make it work a lot better as kind of time goes by. So yeah, the keywords is really important, so do some thinking about that. But then there's other tools that you can use. So you can use Google's keyword tool planner, and in there it's within your Google account, so you would go into there and you can find out the number of people are searching for a particular keyword per month, and that will then give you an idea of how profitable it could be, and also it will give you an idea of the cost per click as well.
Okay. And so what are you looking for when you go and use that tool? What's kind of flags up as being a great keyword and what's not a great keyword?
Well, I would say it really depends, but I would say probably anything less than, say, 50 searches a month is going to get a little bit tricky, because it's a numbers game. You need to have enough people searching for it to have a percentage that will click through, and of the people that click through, a percentage will then make contact with you. So yeah, it's really a gauge. It's not, you know, definitive, but it gives you an idea of how many people are searching in your geographical target audience, target area, or wider afield.
Okay. As part of bringing this in as part of your kind of overall social media strategy, would it be worth kind of doing a Facebook ad first of all, testing what you want to do and then replicating that into your Google ads? Or do you think that the two tools are just so different that you would have to have different campaigns will work on the different medias?
Absolutely. Okay, there's two massive differences between these areas. So Google Ads is somebody going to Google with a pain, they need to have it fixed. They're typing in the search bar exactly what it is that they're looking for, and they're looking for a company that can help them. They've got their hand in their back pocket ready to spend money. That's a very different experience to going to Facebook, where you're advertising and people are in their social, you know, that they're in their social sphere with friends, and the advertising there is more along the lines of kind of QE, you know, this is something we've got on offer, and it's targeting the kind of person that you want to put your message in front of. So there's a very, very different sort of mechanism in these two processes. So no, I wouldn't suggest doing Facebook as a way to help with your Google AdWords. I would suggest that you need to do some solid keyword research, know your numbers, because I think the other thing is that you've got to have an idea of how much a client is worth to you, or how much a lead is worth to you. And until you know that, looking at the search volumes and looking at the cost per click, you're not going to know whether it's going to be profitable or not for you. So it's important to know your numbers, definitely.
That kind of leads me into quite a good one of my next questions that I'd written down to ask you is, would there be a kind of checklist of things that you say that you must have, or that you need to do first, or the sequence that you should go through to make sure that your paid advertising is going to be profitable for you? So you've touched on a couple of things there, but is there a checklist that you could we can run through now? If you're going to set up I'm about to set up my first paid advertising campaign, what do I really need to go from here to having a successful, profitable ad?
Yeah, okay. So there's a 5-step process, and I can run through that. But before that, you really need to know your numbers. It's funny, when I talk to new leads and customers, one of my first questions is, how many clients have you had in the last month? Of which typically they don't know the number of new customers, and it makes it very difficult with the Google AdWords, because it makes it very hard to kind of quantify it and to put some figures to it. So have a think about how much a client is worth to you, perhaps in the first year, or the lifetime value of a client, and then you'll know as a business owner how much you're prepared to pay to gain that new customer, either as a lead or as a sale. So it may be that the client's worth to you of, say, £15,000, something like that. Then you might be prepared to spend £500 to acquire that customer. But only you as a business owner can make that decision. It's not a scientific thing at all. And it's funny, because some people say a lot higher than I would imagine, and some people say, oh, well, I'll pay £2 to get a customer. In which case, if it's towards the latter, then probably Google AdWords maybe too far.
I take it, the more you've got to be able to spend, the better results you're going to get. Is it one of those? Does it really make a difference how much you're spending or willing to spend?
Well, that's another good point. I wouldn't suggest that initially you spend loads of money on it. I would suggest that you need to spend, it depends on the cost per click, and it does depend on the business market, because more competitive markets are a higher cost per click. So it depends on a number of factors. However, I would suggest that you have a sensible ad campaign, let's say sort of £500 a month perhaps, just as a gauge. And with that, you can then have an idea of how many customers or leads you're going to be able to gain in, say, a 3-month period. Then you can scale it up. And it all depends on the search volumes. And there's other ways to be able to scale campaigns. But I would suggest you start off slow, and then you can build it up from there. You can spend loads of money to begin with, but actually you don't know which bit of it is working. So I would suggest getting in at a lower level.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so back to the stages.
In terms of the stages, so there's the keyword research is the key thing, and just with that, thinking about who your ideal client is. And then the second stage is about crafting the ads. So you need to think about what it is that's important to your client. What makes you different? What is it that is your clear call to action? Now, you haven't got very many characters to be able to, explain everything about why you're amazing. You've got 35 characters on one line, and then you've got 25 characters on other lines. So it's fairly limited. So you need to think about being really succinct with your message and coming up with the ad copy to put into your ad. Then the next bit is, where am I going to take clients to or leads to on my website? And this needs to not be just any old page on your website. It needs to be built with trying to encourage people to take the next step. And that may be a telephone call, it may be filling out a form, but it's just getting them to take the next step, not giving them too much information so that they've got everything that they need, and not lots of clickable links to take them to other pages on your website. You want to take them to one page that encourages them, that they can trust you, that you've got some testimonials on there, and it's got 3-4 key bullet points of why they should get in contact with you to take that next step. Okay. That's the next bit. The next bit after that is about tracking conversions. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have some steps in place to know whether the campaign is working. Because it's all very well saying, okay, we've got 20 clicks to the website. Do you know how many phone calls have come as a result of that? Do you know how many people filled out a form, have asked to request more information? So all of those particular sort of touch points need to be put as a conversion, and what it simply means is you put a little bit of code on the thank you page when somebody fills out this form, or it may be that they call you. That's another story. But there's ways to be able to capture these conversions in your account.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Because there may be some holes at different areas, and without capturing that, what the stages that people go through, you're not going to know where you need to go and tweak and change. It might be that you get loads of people to your landing page, but then nothing at the other end. So the ad's working, but the landing page isn't working.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you've got ways of being able to see those leaks, you're not going to know where to optimize your account.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 5th stage. So within your AdWords account, you need to be able to look at which keywords are making people fill out the forms or making them call you. And then what you do is, those are the kind of the good keywords. You spend more money on those and optimizing those better, and then less on the ones that, okay, I've had 20 clicks to there, but it's had absolutely no result at all. So you would then kind of pause those, or look at why aren't they working? Is it that it doesn't resonate with what somebody's typed in?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that it's not the right keyword? You kind of need to put it under the microscope and really analyze it as to why it's not working. But the 5th stage is optimizing your account.
Optimizing it. But it does sound like a full-time job, just running any kind of ad campaign. It's quite a lot of detail to go into, and a lot of time and effort, but it's definitely worth it once you've really tweaked and honed it. I assume that you've got that, an ad will then be able to run, and you can kind of run with it for a long time. Do you find that ads have a lifespan, or can you just kind of set up your Google ad once you know and you've tweaked it and it's really converting well, you just kind of keep it out there for as long as it works?
No, absolutely not. No. No, it's not a set it and leave kind of thing. The thing is, with Google AdWords, it's a live bidding auction.
Yeah.
So, there's competitors that are coming in, there's just differences that are happening in your bidding. So it's something that you need to be on it absolutely weekly. And in some instances with clients, we're on it every day. So, it's something you need to be able to do on a regular basis. So sorts of things that you need to do in that respect is put in negative keywords. So you can tell what people have typed in, and it may be that for the wooden table scenario, it might be that it's legs or something that's related to tables, but isn't the right kind of keyword. So you would put that in as a negative.
Yeah, it might be people searching how to build their own wooden table.
Yeah, exactly. That's not an ideal customer. No. So you would go in then and put that as a negative keyword. You would then make sure that your ads are in the right position so that you can then change the bidding for each of the keywords. God, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. It is a very deep and complex process, but it's worth taking the time to do it if you're at that stage in your business where Google AdWords are going to work for you. I think it's probably not the first thing that you should jump into when you're marketing your business, but it's definitely a very lucrative place to invest once you know that you've got a product and service that's going to sell within using Google Ads to be able to promote it for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So thinking about that process then, just wondering have you got any kind of examples or something you could just talk through now of an ad campaign, like your best ad campaign, the one that's the most profitable, the most successful, has had the best kind of return for customers or for yourself? What's kind of been a really great winner, or something that actually even just has caught your eye out there in the world that you've gone, wow, that was a really great use of using pay-per-click ads?
Yeah. So there's a number of different clients. I mean, there's a commercial IT support company that we've worked with for a long time. It flies in the face of what I've said earlier. When we set up their account, within literally like half an hour, they've got a call from a company that needed their support. So they got a 13 grand contract just within the matter of minutes, really. So that was a really, really good return, and so we continue to kind of nurture that and improve that, and it's working very, very well. With that, I guess the key thing is that you don't know when people are going to be searching. So if your ads aren't there, then you've got absolutely no chance of getting these leads.
No.
However, if your ads are there, then logically you have.
Yeah.
So with the commercial IT support, it's fantastic. We work with a dentist, so a local dentist in Swindon, and they were spending £4,000 a month on ads. And they were doing in-house, and we were able to tweak the campaigns, and very rapidly, within about 3 weeks, we'd got it down to £1,200 a month.
Wow, brilliant.
And that's an example where somebody's been doing it in-house and been doing a good job, but it's not their core sort of specialism. So we looked at it and made some tweaks. That there was some setup issues within it, and the return they're getting now is just incredible.
Brilliant.
So that's good. There's like an Arctic holidays company that we work with. This is a very visual one, so this works really well with banner ads. So what you can do is you can place your banner ads on particular websites, like travel websites, holiday websites, and then kind of attract people in through those banner ads, but also people that are searching for, you know, Northern Lights holidays as well. So there's different ways of being able to use AdWords to be able to attract you new customers. But for them, again, the return is fantastic because it's, you know, a high turnover ticket item for the business. That's good.
Excellent. And so then on complete flip side, I suppose, to that, what are some of the, I think, you know, biggest mistakes that you see small business owners especially making when it comes to their pay-per-click and Google ads?
Yes. Okay. I'll be diplomatic. So typically when we audit an account, we've got another one this morning. Typically when we audit an account, what people have done is they've put all of the different keywords into one ad group. Now, the way that you set up an ad campaign is you have essentially folders. So you've got a campaign, and in the campaign you have ad groups, and in each of the ad groups you then sit your keywords and your ads. Now, what people tend to do is they put in all of the keywords together. So it could be you know, wooden chairs, it could be buy wooden chairs, it could be you know, anything related to that. But actually, what you need to do is you need to have an individual keyword per ad group. Now, the reason I would say this is that you need to show an ad, the ad copy that's really related to what somebody typed in.
Okay.
So if you've got them all lumped together, having the same ad, it's not going to be relevant to people at all. So it's doing the hard work to make the sales easy. It's having a campaign that's structured really, really well, really, really tight. And so when somebody types in, they see an ad that's related to what they've typed in, it takes them to a page that's related to what they've typed in. So lots of keywords within one folder, if you like. That's a key big thing that we see. And also one of the massive classic mistakes is not having negative keywords.
Okay.
So if you don't have negative keywords, then your ads can show for all sorts of things, and especially if you have what's called broad match. So what you're doing is letting Google decide whether it feels that what your keyword is that you've typed in is relevant to show your ad. So there's lots of different things, but those are a few of the classic mistakes that come up.
Ones.
It's the Google tax. They're just sitting there going, brilliant, excellent, thanks, and long.
And that's exactly where you can end up spending a lot of money, especially with the negative keywords. If you don't have those, you can spend a lot of money without getting as great a return as what you could do if you just spent the time looking at adding those negative keywords in.
Yeah, and also location targeting. So you want to make sure that the locations that you have your ads in are relevant to what you're doing. So, for example, the dentist in Swindon, you know, he would have the ads around Swindon, but some clients we've looked at, when we looked at their account, they're covering the whole of the UK. You know, but it's one of those things that when you start out, you're not entirely sure exactly how to structure it. So these are the sort of things that do come up.
So with that then in mind, I suppose we're coming up to, I think we've already done about 40 odd minutes now as well.
Oh gosh,
we've been on here a while.
We're on and on and on.
That's really good. But just kind of then to sum up, unless you've got any other bits that you wanted to go into, but to sum up, what's the one thing that people, if they are about to embark on their first ever Google ads, or if they have got some Google ad campaigns running at the moment and they want to go in and refine and tweak them, what's one thing that people can do today to make sure that their paid ads are going to be really effective?
If you're new to Google Ads, I would suggest that you go on a course and don't just sort of wing it. Because of all of these things that I've shown you, you've really got to know what you're doing. I mean, it's taken me a year in this business, but also prior to that I was doing Google AdWords for the other business, and I'm continually learning because Google are always putting out new things. You know, there's some things in the last couple of months that are really, really exciting, but if you put them under the wrong people using these, then it can be a bottomless pit, really, spending lots of money. So I would suggest that you learn what you're doing properly before you start embarking on it. I wouldn't just dive on into there.
No.
The simple thing to set up is some remarketing ads. I would set that up for anybody that just wants to start to get a feel for Google AdWords and how it might work, because there's you know, the cost per click is less. It's a really good way of attracting customers back to your website to have a second bite of the cherry. You can have a very clear call to action on that.
Okay.
So those two things. If you're doing Google AdWords already, there's a checklist that we have that you can have a look through your ad campaign to see that it's doing the sorts of things that it should be doing, to check, make sure that it's got negative keywords, make sure that the locations are set up right, things like that, to be able to make sure that you are having a good fair crack at the whip.
Brilliant. And is that a checklist that I can provide a link to below, and then people can go and download that from you?
Yes, yeah, I can share that with you, no problem at all.
Brilliant. Yeah. And also it'd be great if we can, I will try and do a summarize, or if you've got a way that we can summarize those 5 steps, and those were a really useful resource there as well. So yeah, sure. I'll try and share that as well. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, well, Charlotte, thank you so much for going through that. It was such an in-depth, I definitely know I've learned quite a lot about Google AdWords, and I know that I will be coming to you as soon as I want to set up campaigns rather than try and do it myself, because there are so many variables that I think it really is one of these places that really does pay to either invest a lot of time yourself in really understanding the process to go through, or make sure that you invest in the experts that know what they're doing and have gone through all of the processes so that they can really help you maximize your return from what you're spending. So I really thank you so much for sharing all of that brilliant information, and I will put the links below to that checklist that you've mentioned. And yes, so thank you.
Brilliant. Pleasure. Yeah, no, it's been great to get more excited about Google AdWords as always.
I love it. I love your excitement in there. It's great to see when people are so passionate about what they do. And who'd have thought that paper ads were going to be paper ads? I've almost changed the name.
Paperclips.
Paperclips are going to be such an exciting subject to, an enthusiastic subject to talk about as well. So it's great.
It's great. There's lots of potential. Really lots of potential AdWords, definitely.
All right. Well, okay. I am going to hit the stop button on the record now, and we can.